The San Antonio Police Department has actually fired a cop who was seen on video last week pursuing a teenager eating a burger in his car before firing at the teen 10 times. We're gonna show you the video footage in case you haven't seen it, but bear in mind this is of pretty harsh violence and police brutality. So with that warning given, let's take a look.
Get out of the car. What? Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Earlier, you got a finger return on it right now.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
So thankfully, in this case, apparently the footage was just damning enough for the police department to do something, and James Brennand has been terminated. They say it goes against their training tactics and all of that stuff. Again, thank God the video exists, because if it didn't, the exact same thing had happened, I can't imagine that guy would have gotten fired. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, for some sadistic reason, I mean, you know how this is how it begins with me. I start by ingratiating myself into certain communities. So right now I'm on cop social media. I follow a lot of like the pages they do, and I'm just lurking right now because of brain rot. And usually when these videos like start to spread out, they show up on these pages first, and you get a bunch of Blue Lives Matter chuds going, oh yeah, that's proper procedure. Oh yeah, you see the perp shouldn't have reached for his weapon there. Oh yeah, everything was done right, had to be done there. This was amazing. Every cop on there was like, bro should get fired. That was ridiculous. Didn't even ask a single question, just shot into the car immediately, completely against procedure here. So no, this seems like one they are, or that group seems to be pretty willing and eager to throw under the bus. And like, we shouldn't be surprised by these kinds of things. We should hopefully live in a world where police officers and citizens alike look at instances of police misconduct, especially in America where that often involves lethal violence with guns. We should be able to look at those moments of misconduct and go, that's bad. We should do something about that. And we should have a little bit more agreement on that, considering how often it happens. At least this time we do, when that guy was immediately fired, because there's no way as a regular citizen you're supposed to reasonably be expected to comply. That doesn't stop cops a lot of the time, but more on that in a moment. At least this is one case where there was the right thing being done here. Of course, this kid's going to be paralyzed, I hope, or like at least severely injured for a while, and hospitalized, and hope he gets a lot of money out of that suit.
Yeah, and that's where we turn to. Okay, so I'm curious what your experience on cop Twitter, which has got to be the most fun part of Twitter, will say. So they're willing to, as you said, throw him under the bus in terms of him being fired. So I started the segment by like implying that this is good news, and it is good news, but it also isn't justice. Getting fired, okay. How are you not in jail for what you just did? Who thinks that what he did was remotely acceptable? And why does he get away with it? Because he's a cop. He says, by the way, that he thought that car was a car that had eluded him earlier, and so he was creeping. So he creeps up on a car, surprises the person with a gun drawn. The guy starts to back up because he's terrified that he's about to be shot, which he is about to be shot. And then because the car might get away, he starts trying to murder the person. So let's say that it was the car that had eluded him. You don't get to murder someone because they're inconveniencing you, because you might have to hop in your car and chase them, or you might have to get on the radio and track the person down. You're not Judge Dredd. You don't get to just murder a person. And losing your job is not enough. What we just saw, like, you tried to kill a person. There was no rationale for it. Your life was not in danger. He says that the door hit him when the guy backed up, and maybe it did. But once the guy is moving forward, there's no threat whatsoever to the cop anymore. Firing even one shot at that point, first of all, you should never be able to work as a cop, literally ever. No security guard, no nothing. You should never be able to own a gun, have a gun, look at a gun, think about a gun. But you should probably be in jail too. And I really hope that they sue not just the cops, but this guy individually, sue him into the ground.
Oh no, like you're absolutely right there. Again, let's put our rational society brain here on for a moment, because you have to have your rational society brain on and you have to have your America brain on. So rational society brain on, this is murder. This is terrible. He's not only endangering his life, but bro, you're shooting into a car with a like live person in there. Not to get all graphic about where you shoot or whatever, but that's a moving vehicle, all right? Like you are creating a danger to not just yourself, but now that person just becomes like a vehicular threat based on their ability to be able to control the car still, with bullets being like put in them, right? So it's a danger to that public McDonald's like area that he was like parking lot that he was with, everyone who was in there, himself and others. And yeah, this should be manslaughter by any other stretch of the imagination. But again, rational society brain off, America hat on. And going back to cop social media, there's just an underwritten belief that, hey, cop and be messy sometimes. And sometimes you do have to be judge, jury, and executioner in the streets and shoot people. That's wrong and it's stupid. This is what they believe. And so that sort of background thinking of, oh, this guy should only be fired, he should be in jail. That's certainly the minority of people commenting on these cases. Because again, like these people follow because they get some weird lust out of seeing these death videos all the time. And they all go, yeah, well, cop did everything right most of the time. So like you're saying, John, this is a larger issue, not just in this extremely egregious case, but you need an extremely egregious case like this just to be able to point out some bare, obvious things about our broken criminal justice system.
And the final point I want to make about it is that the kid, so the kid had two reactions. It was to initially back up and then to speed away. And that kid did everything right. A person throws a gun in your face and you're in a car, the only thing you can do is to try to go in whatever direction the gear is already in. So the backing up is totally understandable. And then once the guy starts shooting, you have to get out of there. Like some defenders of cops will imply that that's suspicious or whatever. No, like, you know how like we always joke in a horror movie, they kill the bad guy, but they don't actually like kill him, like they wing him or something. They don't finish him off. No, cops are the exception to that rule. When they start firing, they do not stop until they've killed you 5 times over. They will put every bullet that they've ever owned into you. He's not trying to shoot the guy once and then he'll check him or anything. Once he starts shooting, he's gonna put every bullet he can into your body. The only defense you have is to get out of there. If he had not gone on the gas, the cop would have pursued him, approaching the car, shooting every bullet he possibly can at him. That kid did everything right. I hope he gets millions off of this.